Yo, Parish Orphans and Retrogrades. Timothy Gordon here with something other than rules for retrogrades. We're going to go ahead and just call this by the working title, in not of. People are in the room are giggling because in not of is an unclear thing. It's a reference to the scripture. We're called to be in the world, but not of the world. And that's what this podcast focuses on. I'm here with my buddy, Boss. What's up, Boss? Some people out there know you as Grover, but I'm going to call you Boss.
Yeah, how's it going, Tim? I guess I am sort of known as Grover, but Boss also works as well. So Twitter handle would be Grover. Yes, I'm doing
Well,
well, brother.
it
How you
better.
been?
It better. I'm good. I'm good. Last time we did a podcast in person, and that was fun because we, had the giggles. You were sitting next to me. You were just
Yeah.
thrilled to be up here in the studio, I guess. But
Where the magic happens.
and you were on your way out of town and had some trippage going on, a family trip, and we talked about what that comprises when one has a large family. And so how the heck did that trip go?
Yeah, so you had just gotten back from your trip, and then I was heading out from mine, and so trip went really well. We stopped through on our way to your place, and then of course from there we're gonna head up towards Tennessee, and so everything was great. Everything went fine. It was nice to see some old friends that we have met and been friends with for about 10 years now, actually, when I think about it, and so it was fantastic. But I do have to take some time if I can because there's one thing on the trip that continually kept happening, and I think you already know what I'm gonna get upset about. Do you know?
I think I do. I think I could guess. Is this the driving
it's,
thing? Or like
it's got it.
like a road
Okay.
rage thing?
Listen, okay. So you know the jokes like you're when you go to mass or before you go to mass, you're gonna go to confession, and then you end up like going and swearing at somebody in the parking lot or in traffic and those kind of thing. Um,
Yeah. Healthy
yeah, quite
practice. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, quite literally. I probably needed to go to confession after driving because I don't know where this came from. The left lane on the interstate is not it's not for travel. I I'm gonna sound I'm aging myself now, right? Because like when you're younger, you don't care about rules. Um, when you get older, you realize like the rules are what makes things fun. So rules exist so that we can have a good time. And I don't know how many times I had to slow down because somebody was in the left lane and just like out for a Sunday drive. Okay. The left lane is for passing. And then when you're done passing, you can get back into the right lane for travel. So um, I'm not sure if people just don't know that or they don't care. But I'm telling you, I probably probably need to talk to my priest about how much that angers me. I don't know if you've experienced that. I kind of see you as like a laid back left lane California kind of guy, and it's like getting my heart racing thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I noticed it more on my road trip this past time. I guess we're both becoming boomers, beginning to pay heed to the rule, to bend the knee to the left lane rule. But it is true. It's safe when you use the left lane. I don't know why we're talking about this, but you use the left lane to pass. You build a healthy space of lane between you and the car in front of you and behind you, and you're traveling like an island with your own little family. And then if anyone has a blowout or whatever, you're all safe. Another thing that was chapping my hiney
So
on
mad.
this past road trip, because I was in an RV, right? I went from Mississippi to California, up to Chicago, back down to Mississippi. So giant triangle around the nation. And I noticed a lot of left laners that thought that the left lane is some sort of terminus. It's some sort of final end spot where you just stay there. And you're absolutely right. I'd never noticed it before now. I guess it's that I turned 40. But also, what in the hell is up with truckers in this nation? Truckers, what is going on with you? They think that they're F1 racers. They think they're Formula One race cars. And it's like, you're not even allowed, truckers of the nation, if you're listening to me now, you're not even allowed to go over 60. And not only were they were violating both rules, my friend. They were in the left hand lane. They were in the left lane, and they were like running they were like bothering me, right lane, left lane, whatever. And I was going like 70, 75. They're not even allowed to go faster than 55 at night. It's
Listen,
unreal.
listen, I'm sorry, but like I'm so mad right now. It's just listen, they're like F1 drivers. I remember the one time there was like 4 semis in a row on the interstate in Tennessee. You're getting to the hills, right? I guess you can't really call them mountains because it's not like the West Coast, but and then you see like one of them pull out like he's just gonna step on it and start moving, and every car behind it. Like there was like 15 of us, and I'm getting so mad because we're slowing down. And I got a fairly decent sized rig, so mine isn't that quick either. I get it, but it's not a semi, you know. And in an RV, obviously you're not going to just step on it and move either. But like this is a semi. We're going up and down hills. Like what was this guy thinking, And I
It's
know there's
dangerous.
yeah,
They're
it's
playing
super
Russian
dangerous.
roulette with people's lives, trucker lives, but also family lives. Well,
Look, I'm
human.
not. We're not being dramatic at all, right?
Yeah, right, right. No,
Seriously
there's
though,
something
it
to the
just made me so mad.
no. You get out there with your fam, and these things upset you, and this is how you become a boomer. So congratulations.
I do want to say though, you become a boomer. So boomers are born on the interstate. Now that we've solved that mystery, we are good to go on that. No, but I did want to say though, I mean, other than that, the trip was really great. The kids did fairly well. We are psychopaths. We don't have DVD players. We don't have iPads. We have nothing. So a lot of my time is spent telling my children to stare out the window and pretend like they're, watching something on an iPad. So for that, they really did well. And it was great to see our friends. They're fantastic people. They had actually just bought some property in Tennessee. And so we were out there checking out that, went for a little hike and stuff. So absolutely great time. And of course, we were going to try to come through, matter of fact, and record what is this episode now at your place. But I think some of the kids were getting sick and time wise, it just wasn't going to work out. So
Yeah, yeah, and it would have people would have been able to tell we have we have the giggles when we do these shows live and in person. What's that? Steph is mouthing something
I
at
was
me.
just saying it's funny based on the last episode that I ended up that weekend your trip got canceled coming through here because I ended up being the vomit guy and the poop guy.
Yeah, Steph ended up proving her vomit guy and poo guy credentials. We talked about that last time in the inaugural In Not Of
yeah.
show. Was that you were like, "Hey, Darcy's the everything but the vomit guy. What's
Right.
your wife? You're asking about Steph." And I'm like, she's the everything guy. And then like 3 days later, she showed her worth, her metal, and it was a good time. Good time for me, I guess. Yeah, you said like
Yeah.
you had a lot of blood. I'm like that. I was concerned. I was confused.
That was probably the one part where it just got out of hand. I honestly don't know at that point. I think it was probably like what 12 or 13 beers in, so I don't even
Right.
no,
Well,
yeah.
one of the things I wanted to talk about today that's related to your trip is old friends and people in the last cast, which was actually our first cast. You mentioned the old joke. Jesus's miracle was that he was in his mid 30s and he had 12 good friends that he saw regularly or something. And people wanted us to talk about that some. And your trip, the impetus for it was to go see older friends. So I thought deeply, I drank deep of that river of thought in between that last show and this one. It's funny to be a guy in your 30s or 40s and to have had really what you thought, I guess, were dear middle school, high school, college friends all this time. And then to realize, particularly as you grow deeper in your walk with the Lord, as our Protestant brethren call it, you start taking the faith really, really seriously the way you do. And that ends up shaving friends off your life. And you come to realize as one does that it's not automatic to retain those middle school, high school, college friends. And as a matter of fact, friendships are supposed to be based in virtue. These are mainly based on like wacky stuff we did together, trouble we got into in middle school and high school. And that actually doesn't qualify as a real friendship for Aristotle or St. Thomas. So I was thinking about it a lot. And then you went and saw your friend. So how is that relationship?
Well, it's interesting because the family that we went to go see in particular, they are the first Catholic family that we really became close to because both I and my wife cradle Catholic, but our faith wasn't necessarily that important. And so this was that first family once we started going to mass together and things that we got close to out there. And so um, it was the first friendship that we have probably outside of that kind of like younger, crazier kind of way, like you said, just being silly and doing goofy things together. That's where most friendships typically happen. And so this is one of those that you're speaking of. It's more built on virtue and other things. And so yeah, it's very different. It's a whole different experience, and it gets to the point where those old friendships can't necessarily exist, like you said, because there's different priorities and different focuses going on. I think so.
Yeah, it's almost like the long if we're looking from a perspective of you as an old man, boss as an old man. I'm already there. I'm already an old man, but like an old man who's withered and broken and bent, and looking back on his life again. I'm already there. Uh,
Broken.
and he's like, look, the longest running friendship that I had that I actually kept is basically the first one that I made when I became really and truly serious about my faith. You know what I mean? So it's like the earlier that happened, the better, because everyone wants longer running friendships. It's weird, and to me a bit uncomfortable, because I'm a time tester kind of guy. I like testing time. I'm true blue. I like having old friends. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, friendships that are that span many years. Not I don't hang out with octogenarians or anything like that. But like,
Wait, what? Are you serious? You don't?
no, I mean, like, I. It's weird that if you start hanging out with someone that's actually cool, not like, have Asperger's, or just only you go to mass and that's it, which happens with a lot of families at a lot of
Right.
good parishes. But they're actually cool and you can goof off and have fun, but they're also serious about their faith. And let's say you make a friend like that, and you know them for 9 months, or I don't know how long we've been friends, 2 or 3 years, I guess. So that's a little bit longer. But take a 9 month friendship with a family at your parish. You compare that to a middle school friend, like some of the friends that I grew up with and played in the band with and got into all sorts of creative mischief with. I was telling someone, another new friend at my house last weekend, the kinds of creative prank type mischief we got into, and he couldn't believe it. But like,
Wait,
I don't
hold
know.
on.
It's
So
just, yeah.
wait, so we were supposed to come by last weekend, and you just said you had a different friend over. What's going on here? I think we're really making a we're really making a breakthrough here now. I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, you were invited, and you
Yeah, no,
said, I
I'm
guess it
kidding.
could have to be. Your kid had the highfalutin sacraments, so that made you all high and mighty, and you decided not to come by.
Yeah, how dare we? How dare we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you get?
yeah,
How'd that
yeah.
go?
No, really well, really well. What I wanted to say though was when you were talking about real quick about with the friendship and things, you're right because there was a really great scene from a show I was watching, and I can't remember. I'm remiss what it is. I Ricky Gervais has a lot of different series that he writes. So for those of you who've seen like The Office, um, and things like that, he actually writes a lot of those. And one of the interesting things he says in one of the shows, and I don't remember which series it was, but the character that he writes has a scene where he says, sometimes all we have in common with someone is the floor that we walk upon. We don't choose like who we're put into situations with sometimes, and that's kind of how I think about it with childhood friends in a way, right? Because really, you're just put there with these people normally in school, let's say, and you can't really choose necessarily who you're around. And so sometimes friendships are kind of forced and built from that. Whereas as adults, like you said, you can obviously start to choose who you spend time with or what activities you're doing. And you're going to hopefully lean towards more virtuous people where it's not just what kind of mischief and trouble you can get into. Right. And so that's what I wanted to make a point to say about that. Because when I
Yeah.
think about a lot of my friendships from earlier days, they were a lot of times where you think you're having a lot of fun. And of course, then you realize, like, of course, some things were fun, but other times it was just unnecessary kind of games and things. And yeah, it's completely different. You wouldn't necessarily choose to do it over again, but in that situation, of course, it's different as well. So
Yeah, like Aristotle talks about three different types of friends, and two of them are actually not friends. They're accidental forms, which for Aristotle always means a fake form. One is more fake than the other. And then, of course, the third type is true friendships, which are based in virtue. But the first type is friendships of utility. And it's like where you're using a person. Adults often do it too to gain station in life, but it's almost exclusively looking back like what little kid friendships are. And it's because all you share with them is space, like your neighborhood. And you'll play with little Tommy down the street just because he's got a ping pong table or the video game console that you wanted to play with. And so literally this is the most accidental form of friendship. It's the least personal, and it's the least close to a real friendship, a friendship of utility. And that is what little kids tend to make. Starting around like middle school, that's when I made much, much, much deeper feeling friends. And I was really into my friends starting in middle school. Actually, when I moved from California to Texas, like the second time, we'd always move back and forth. But I really started depending like emotionally on like having friends at school, because you hate going to school, middle school, high school. The best part is, the group of friends that you cultivate. And those, I think, the way I have it wired up, the way I'm looking at it now, is those are friendships of pleasure, which are much more personal. You actually enjoy the person, not just something attached to them, like a ping pong table or whatever, a job you covet, lifestyle accoutrements. You actually like the person. You actually enjoy spending time around the person. And middle school, high school, and even college, I'm a little embarrassed to say, we got into some elaborate pranks, such elaborate pranks, you'd even call them hoaxes.
Wait, you manufactured a global situation when you guys were in college that shut
like
everything
good
down?
ones, like good ones that were mostly good, and sometimes people being doused with water balloons at all hours of the night or something like that, more elaborate than that.
Not to get too deep into it, but I do want to point out that Aristotle, you're talking about in, I think it was like 360 BC. He wrote his manuscript was Gals, or it was Pals Before Gals is the manuscript you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's right. You're on Wikipedia, I see.
Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that book that he wrote called Pals Before Gals. That's the radio friendly version of that.
Yeah, it is. It is the Catholic radio friendly version. I guess the whole reason I brought it up, and I've been thinking about it, is that it's a little depressing to me, and I'm a little jealous of people that somehow retained from that middle school, high school, college phase of life, where you do make very intimate feeling friends. A lot of times friendships of pleasure, where you have the most time to just quote unquote hang out and really get to know each other. Some people retain some portion of those friends from their life, I guess, depending on their relative maturity in middle school, high school, or college. Maybe they had friends that were directionally traveling in, or at least towards, Catholicism with them. And so I'm really jealous if anyone has even one denizen of their teens or early 20s that they still hang out with. Because what happened to me as I, got serious about my faith, it's like I really saw all of those friends, and I had a big group. I had a big group that was pretty close. We were in a touring rock band together, so we did a lot, and those were friends from middle school.
Right, but that video game, I told you this several times, does not count. The video game Rock Band does not count as a tour. Just because you like put it on the back of a truck and you drive around the neighborhood, that doesn't. That's
what I meant. We played it in
Yeah.
wife's van. That's exactly
on a trailer, dragging it around town.
See, I tried to do something, and you called it out there. I respect that. No, but I mean, I really, yeah. What I'm saying, it seems to be an ironclad rule of the universe that it's like you can keep your oldest friend, if you're a serious-minded Catholic, your oldest friend, it's like a bonus, can be as old as your age now minus the age you were when you got serious about Catholicism. So if it was like you're 25, then whatever. I'm 40 now. If I'd gotten serious about Catholicism at 25, I could have any friends over that last 15 years. And for me, it was more like 28 or 29 is when I got really serious about things. And I'm just jealous because I really do wish that some of my friends are less un-Catholic from middle school, high school, college, but I don't know if there are any that are really serious about it. And it's like you always try to stretch the ones that are culturally Catholic and maybe conservative. You're like, oh yeah, they're Catholic, and then you try to talk to them about anything. It doesn't have to be the most current event on LifeSite or Church Militant or something like that, but try anything, even like the Francis pontificate. I recently tried this, very recently, and it's like it's just no purchase, no bite, no sell. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think the problem too is that you have to be careful because I grew up in a situation where my mother's side of the family was they were Catholic, and then she ended up leaving, and she went into this weird non-denominational denomination, and so you have to be careful where like everything they did all the time was just faith, everything. Couldn't have the radio. If we had CDs, we had to like put like a Christian rock CD over that regular CD, whatever it was, to hide it in the CD player types. So, and you don't want everything to be faith, right? So you can't overdo it there because that's not just that's not everything, right? I mean, obviously it's a lot of it, but that's going to freak people out, right?
Is this
So that's
before or
part of
after your mom was in the Snake Handlers Guild for a while, right?
it. Yeah, actually, yeah, exactly. That's what brought me to the South. Is I actually wanted to try my hand in that and see if I could get up my own band of snake handlers. And then, of course, the opening act. The opening act was going to be Tim Gordon and the Bros on the trailer playing rock band as we tour the country, opening shows all over.
Right.
So yeah. But I mean, the problem though is like you're saying. So you have these friends, you want to be closer to them and form a stronger bond by virtue and things, but if you can't force them to do that either, right? And so there's not as much in common necessarily there because it is easier when you can share things in a natural, organic way. It's not forced because we've all been in situations where we have to be friends with somebody or we try to be, and it's just wicked awkward. I don't even know how else to explain it. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
And I think part of that for me though is you have to be able to have fun still.
Right.
I don't know why people think you can't have fun, even though, say, you're in your 30s or getting into your 40s. I don't know why just having fun in general has to go the wayside. And for me, that's where it gets very difficult because I still want to do, like, if you're having a barbecue, you're gonna have a few beers or whatever. That's fine. I don't, it doesn't have to get nuts, but it can be fun. It can be a great time. And so, and then of course, not just drinking is fun, but you know what I'm saying. If somebody doesn't, then fine. It's not a big deal. We're not gonna force you into it, but we're going to give you a noogie and we're going to give you a wedgie if you don't drink with us.
Yeah. When you said the thing about like, hey, I want to age gracefully, but also have fun, you sounded like that like 90-year-old guy that used to water ski on the Wrigley's gum commercial. It's like, hey, I don't know.
You're reaching deep there.
What'd you say?
Reaching deep there for reference.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd go big or go home. I mean, no, it's fine. We're not actually that old that we have to start making those kinds of apologias for our sustained fun. You know what it is though? I think it's being a serious Catholic. And that this is largely why I wanted to do this podcast and largely why I wanted to do it with you and kind of break it off from the more serious thing I do, hopefully more serious thing I do on, my channel the rest of the time.
Everything is just going to be terrible from this way on.
No, I mean, like to be a serious-minded Catholic, people, many of them think that there's a mutual preclusion happening between being seriously Catholic and having a good time. And you said something like being good friends based in virtue and having fun are not mutually exclusive. I'd do you one better, and I'd say, in all seriousness, having a friend and having fun with that friend is like a sine qua non. You can't have a friend, a true friend, especially if you're a dude, without having fun when you get together. And that's fine. Like you said, I think last time, we'll go to mass together and then go do something. Where I think a lot of Catholics look at the pagan world, the expanding bit of landscape we would designate the pagan world, and say, all they do is have fun. They wake up like slobs on Sunday morning and treat it like every other morning and go stuff their face at brunch and then go do something fun and then fall asleep and go to work for 5 more days. Well, it's still fine, and even I think necessary to go to mass, do that and go with your friend or your friend's family, but then go do something fun afterwards, right? We're not trying to make the type 3 friendship. What I'm talking about is that the type 3 friendship that I think becomes possible if and only if you're a serious Catholic, and um, at the point and only after the point at which you become a serious Catholic, it doesn't preclude fun. Like, I'm the same guy I was before, and maybe, I mean, I have all the same hobbies. Maybe to talk about adult friends is partly to talk about adult hobbies as well. But it's like there tends to be a false dichotomy where religious Catholic people tend to be far too often the type that think fun is evil or something,
Well, right.
and
And that's,
everyone else just has fun.
yeah. And the problem there is obviously you have to be mindful of what you do. So there's certain things that you just have to give up, right? Like skateboarding. I had to give that up because it's so evil. Now, that's an example of something that probably my mother would have frowned upon, as ridiculous as that sounds. But there's certain things, right? Say certain types of music. You may have been into them before, and then you start to realize what some of the lyrics, some of the things were, and you're like, oh wow, okay, this is actually pretty bad stuff. Okay, so you just have to get rid of those things. But that doesn't mean that necessarily that entire type of music or whatever hobby you may have, right? And so that's where you just have to be able to discern those things for yourself, because it's not really for anybody else to say necessarily, right? Um, and you just have to have fun. I mean, I don't know anybody who, and I'm sure someone would correct me, and somebody's going to say, oh yeah, there's plenty of saints who said, having fun or laughing and joking and whatever it is just a waste of time or whatever it is. But I can't. You have to enjoy this fleeting time you have here, and that's how you really can truly bond with people. And so it's not being stiff and crazy, but how would I explain it? I guess like last night, right? We went to mass for the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and it was a Friday night. And I actually said to my wife, I said, funny how in your 30s, a crazy Friday night is like going to the Sacred Heart of Jesus Mass with your 5 kids. The only way that could have been more complete is if we had like gone to your house afterwards, right? And then maybe have a barbecue or have a few beers or hang out or whatever, right? We were just kind of missing that aspect of it because we don't have that here in the local area necessarily.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like both and, right? You're having fun, but you can do the things like we actually want to be virtuous. We want to try to do the right thing. And
Right.
even though it's super convenient with 5 kids at like their normal, getting started in their bedtime routine time to do that, right? Because those are the things that they'll remember. But
Yeah.
then, hey, afterwards, we still have fun.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, does it make you sad though? This is what I don't know I don't know if it's just me, if I'm just sentimental, or if it makes other dudes that have kind of a similar like life trajectory to me, which I'm counting as you, um, get a little bit older, get closer to 30, and then get serious about the faith. Does it make you sad to not carry with you all your childhood friends? Because those friendships, unlike maybe not the elementary school friendships, which are more like friendships of utility, but the friends of pleasure.
Those were the only ones I cared about. The utility, utility. I literally come to your house because you have a Nintendo Switch, so that's the only reason.
Right. Taylor Marshall got me that Nintendo Switch, actually.
Oh wow.
Nice,
Oh
nice
wow.
kid. No, but I mean, do you have any of your middle school, high school, or college friends still? That's what I've
I
been.
I I still talk to some of them throughout different periods, I would say, but I can go long spans of time without even hearing from them. I would not call any of them very close. It's just by the nature of moving, not living in the same areas, not having the same priorities, and then of course most of them don't have children.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the biggest difference that I see actually is that I kind of wanted to start having children when I met my wife, and we that's kind of natural what you should be doing, and everyone else is worried about making enough money or everything else other than giving themselves in the sense of raising children together. And so that's the hardest part for me. Do I miss it? I guess was your question. And the answer is of course in some ways I do, but I'm also I don't even know how to explain it the right way. I think I'm good about putting things into perspective and being like it's just time to be in a different place in life, right? I just
not so much it, because yeah, that's easier to put into perspective. You're like, yeah, literally, hurling stuff off of roofs, and passing by cars. This is long gone. That probably shouldn't even have done that when I was in my
right.
or whatever. But
Yeah.
but the people, like, I don't miss the really young childhood friends. I don't like that.
Right.
Those were not a close enough stone's throw to true friendship to lament the loss thereof. But I do miss some of the deeper friends of, Aristotle calls them friends of pleasure, that were really close to being true friends, but they just dropped away. And some of them even got married around the same time as me and started having kids too, but they were still basically fallen away Catholics. And so even those guys, even the ones that got married not long after me, had a couple kids not long after me, there's still very little to talk about. And it still makes me sad. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was asking. So
Yeah,
more
see,
them rather than missing it. Like
right. No, absolutely. The actual person, of course. But again, like I said, it's strange. I guess I'm more hit 3 years from now, I'll be like, who's that? Who's Tim Gordon? Never even think about it, Steph. And who are these people? But no, and I mean, yeah, I totally understand that. I wish, in a way, not to sound, I guess, condescending about it, but I wish in a way that they were on the same journey, right? They were trying to be on the same path, because yeah, in that sense, I guess I would miss that person, but they're kind of doing their own thing, and so naturally you just drift apart, I guess. That happens with family as well too, though, right? And so
oh yeah.
for different reasons, of course, that happens. And so yeah, of course, there's some sadness there, and that's where I guess prayer and things can come into play too. So
Yeah, well, like this happens, I think, especially a lot with my friends that went to Catholic school and were like sort of raised Catholic and then lost the faith. They're like, so what do you do again? Because I mean, it's not like I have a show and am well known among a very certain type of person, like a serious Catholic. But it's not like I went and got a show on the Daily Wire, like Michael Knowles or something like that, where just everyone's like, oh yeah, that guy went on and became Michael Knowles, and that's what he does for a job. When I do call,
are you going to announce that right now, that you're actually joining Daily Wire? Is that what you were trying to do?
people are going to take that seriously. Or comment. They'll be like, oh, because I know I'm friends with him. Like, people are like, oh, people literally tune out at all different times in these podcasts. They're going to be like, Gordon's going on Daily Wire.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see the Twitterverse. I cannot wait.
Some of them are rather easy to fool. You're not trying to, but
yeah. Well, sorry, I interrupted you. You were talking about being a stay-at-home dad. Stay-at-home dad. Go ahead and finish that.
No, it's just weird because it's, again, like if you lose contact with a high school friend or you only talk once every 18 months, but you are Michael Knowles, then they're just like, oh yeah, hey, I know what you do for a living. I sometimes tune into what you do. I don't know if any of my old friends, whatever, unless you're a pretty serious Catholic. Not that I only talk about Catholic stuff. I do talk politics some on Rules for Retrogrades, but it's like, it just hits you in unexpected ways, like trying to explain what you do. Because guys that went to Catholic school in the 90s or early 2000s are like, what possibly? Because they have the religion classes, the ridiculous coloring book religion classes. So they don't understand how rich the faith is. And so they're like, what could you possibly have like a Catholic podcast about? You talk about, your Our Sunday Visitor textbook with, captioned pictures of like youths rapping about the Lord. We used to
your coloring books. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they think that's what I do. And I'm like, no, it's a big, rich world, man. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think again too, that's just it's different in the nature of how your friendships were. I mean, I know a lot of my friends from high school. When I do go home, right, when I go back and visit, I can spend time with them, and it is kind of almost like time hasn't passed in a sense. But you can definitely tell priorities are different, and I do miss those friendships where I can just sit and play bass with my buddies until like 2 a.m, just drinking beers and like just riffing on a bass, right? But other than that, it's like we have nothing in common anymore. And
Right.
that is sad, I guess. Yeah. Now that you mentioned that. So now that I'm gonna have that to think about all night. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I hope you cry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're acting all flip and bad, and then oh
Yeah.
yeah, this stuff doesn't get to me, bro. And then now you're gonna rue the day you ever crossed me, boyo. So I mean, that's the thing.
Point, yeah.
It's like, yeah, when I was 20, 18, 22, when I was doing that stuff, and again, it was playing.
Well, the 60s were crazy. So
yeah. And when we you're playing music, and like, I don't know, like it feels really important when you're doing it, and it's also very fun. And then you go and you get Taco Bell at 3 a.m. or whatever, fourth meal, and you get into mischief, whatever stuff you do. Like it wasn't a completely misspent youth. Actually, never for all the ways I talk about my youth, I never ever did drugs, never even smoked pot or anything like that, never once. And I, not even the kinds of mischief people get into with sexual fornication, but we got into serious pranks that would get us into serious fisticuffs with folks. So that's the stuff I'm talking about. We get into, touring around the country, just sort of up to no good, but also creatively up to no good, because you're playing music and it feels kind of important and it feels intimate, and there's time enough, because you don't have the workaday grind yet, to get into deep conversations with I played in a 6-piece band, and it's like, yeah, each of those 5 guys were old friends of mine or my older brothers. So I'd known them since I was in 6th grade. And
that was the Octogenarians, the band name.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. The Octogenarians, because like I said, I like hanging out with old friends. But it feels important as you go through it. That's what I'm saying. And
yeah.
if I went back to Dallas, I think we jammed once, like when we were all old boomers. There's not the natural sense of frivolity. Like you kind of tell some jokes on the mic, and we would always pick on the drummer naturally. But it doesn't, it just feels put on. It's like that Seinfeld where, George and Elaine have nothing to talk about besides Jerry stories. And like, he's like, oh, have you ever seen him, brush his teeth? And they're like, oh, we already did that. And then you're just out of story, and you're like, oh, I'm afraid we're out of time. Like this little revisitation of our youth has to be cut short after a day or two, because there's nothing in the present for us. They're all wraiths of the past, and we're all kind of, squeezing every drop from that turnip, and it's sad. I don't know. It's just been on my mind a lot lately. Summer is the pensive time.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like I said, not to be flippant, I guess I never really have stopped to necessarily think about stuff like that. And that goes to the joke of like how you just get busy with stuff. I know people that have kids, and they're very busy with that. They'll joke about that. Like you catch things when you can, you have friendships if you can, but like you can get so busy and stuck up in just day-to-day stuff. So, but that's going to happen now. I'm going to go think about it tonight, be super depressed, and I'll be texting you about it. So thanks for that.
Like, I should have never been flip about this. It's also important to note in closing that because particularly for males, activity is an important part of the camaraderie. That you and I were joking, I think before we hit record, like, what do you do? Like, I got 5 or 6 kids over here. What I do is I make humans, and I procreate them, and then I educate them, and I love them. But that's not really, anyone that knows you, boss, or knows me is like, that's actually not accurate. Like, both of us are guys that still legit like have a good time. I just had this barbecue that you were too uppity to come to last weekend, and had a bunch of really good Catholic people there. And that was a joke, by the way. Sounded kind of bitter.
No,
But
no,
like,
absolutely.
people are like, man, this is a dude, a quadragenarian or whatever I am when I'm 40 now, that still likes to have a good time. And that's how you are. And that's why we get our families together, and all of us enjoy it. So there is more to life than just spawning other lives and then sort of raising them and having no life. That's not the way you or I live. We
Right.
both do have a good time. I think if anything, that can become a caricature that is prohibitive to people that are considering it. Like, oh, if I had a wife and more than like 1.8 kids, then I wouldn't be able to do anything else. So picking your adult hobbies is wise. And it's another thing. I'm getting everyone really blue with this episode here.
This is crazy. This is no one's ever gonna they're gonna tune out right at the wrong times, like you said.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, this is such a downer. No, you have to pick your adult hobbies almost as wisely as you have to pick your adult friends. Because like I was a big time basketball player. That's what I did. Like I was a basketball player and then a singer in a band. And I'm not one of these guys that switches like what's fun recreationally. But to be a 40-year-old man playing basketball, trying to bang at the Y it's depressing. You get old, you have aches, you note the
I can't
natural
believe that.
course of life.
Are you shirts or skins? Which team do you go?
Depends on the day.
At the Y, you're like challenging all the young kids to basketball games, and you're like, I get to be skins, bro. No, you're right though. You do have to figure out what you want to. This is the way that I think about it, right? It has to be intentional. There is not as much time. You have to just do whatever you want. You're giving your time and your talents and efforts to others, whether it's your spouse or your children or what it is. So you have to decide to do something and be intentional about it. Okay. So I get a lot of flack around my house for not reading. All right. I don't read a lot of books. Okay.
How? Or
that gets pointed. Okay. That's not the point. Yeah. Whether I can or not isn't the point.
I need to give you more flack for that.
Yeah. Right. No, but like, if I only have 30 minutes, it's not going to be like reading. I don't know how to explain that right necessarily. I just not going to be. So you have to find what your hobbies are going to be, and you have to be very serious about them. That's the only way that I can describe it. I don't even know. And is it even a hobby at that point? If you're like super serial about it?
Yeah, no, this is what I'm talking about. It's less organic when you're young and you just have time in between high school classes or college classes. You get bored. You have so much free time that you get bored, and the boredom, if you're the right type, leads to creativity and actually can be really cool, and everything feels more organic. But when you go from everything that an adult householder has to do to seriously and responsibly raise a Catholic household that doesn't, rear children that will grow up and lose the faith the way so many of us did and only have to reclaim it later in life. You have to be intentional about your time, like you're saying, and you want to still do stuff that, I don't know, keeps you fit, keeps you strong, keeps your mind wise. I can't, with all of the routine, working in the house, studying for doctoral things, doing a podcast, teaching online courses. I have to go do something physical, lifting weights or playing basketball. But that's another thing that just gets to be a bummer. Like my favorite things to do are hard on the body. It's like I've gotten into hunting a little bit as I've gotten older in age. And that's cool because you can do that. It's another part of the intentionality. You have to pick hobbies that are like, one, it's better if they're more social. It's good to go hunting with a couple buddies, adult, maybe Catholic friends that are into that. Very fun, and also affords a kind of natural downtime for talking. But it's not hard on your body. You can do that in your 50s, 60s, 70s. And I've just been thinking about it a lot at the beginning of summer. And it turns out to be a major part of eudaimonia, your Catholic happiness you're striving toward. It's like, okay, I'm being virtuous. I'm doing everything I can for my family. I'm doing my best. But I really and honestly am a fun-loving guy. And it's like, I want to have good friends and good hobbies into, my 60s or 70s. And to the extent that it's possible. And it's a tough balance. It's a tough balance. Right.
Yeah, as a tricentenarian, I have a little more time left to find hobbies that I can do well into my later years in life. Because I think you said quadragenarian, so I had to figure out what the 30s is. Tricentenarian. Which everyone knows.
Yeah.
Which everyone knows. Tricentenarian, yeah. So yeah, I mean that's pretty cool actually. That's something we haven't done that we actually need to do together. Is we need to go hunting at some point because I love hunting. It's a fantastic hobby. You can kill things and then eat it, which is what's better than that? I mean, that's probably one of the greatest things. But to be able to do that well into late into life. I remember my grandfather when he was probably in his 60s, 70s. Oh yeah, at least he was out duck hunting. He'd go out duck hunting with the boys, right? And so you can definitely do things like that, like you said. But lifting weights, staying habitual with physical fitness as well is very important. And so as long as you can do those things, you probably should. So it's good
Right.
that you make that important. I mean, those are things that you can do to actually uh, be more intentional because you're there for your children in the sense that you're not going to drop dead at 40 from a heart attack, right? So, uh, and you happen to enjoy them, which a lot of people just don't. Let's be honest. PT is just something that people don't enjoy doing necessarily.
I
So,
don't enjoy running. And another little known thing about running is it actually drops your testosterone after 20 minutes or something. So lifting is better because what I note is just anxiety. If I don't, let go a little bit, if I can't break a sweat, go run for a short run and then do a heavy lift or something like that, or just get into a game of pickup basketball, my anxiety spikes. And so many people, you talk about like the opioid crisis and epidemic or whatever. So many people just are not dealing well with anxiety. And if you can get into a really enjoyable, high stress, high bodily stress routine that actually makes you sweat and actually forces you to get your mind off of what you've been thinking of indoors and beginning to worry about indoors for 8 hours that day, then it's incredibly therapeutic. But I also find that the testosterone build that you get from heavy lifting is really, really helpful at combating anxiety. So just stuff like this, I mean, this is what I mean, where you jumble it all together. We're talking about adult friends, and it's like is really hard because all you have to talk about with your childhood friends or middle school, high school friends is stuff, the activities, but you lack the meaning. Then you make these adult friends after you became more serious Catholic, and you're kind of just talking about the meaning. You're trying to ride the meaning of the liturgy, blah blah. That runs out. I mean, there's a balance to life. Aristotle teaches us hylomorphism. There's the form and the matter. A truly good friendship that a man is lucky to have, if he has one or two of these, is someone that can do both, that can really tend to kind of the formal and the material. Like you get the important stuff, but you also can go do something fun or maybe physical, go hunt, go play ball, go lift weights together, something like that afterwards. It's just, you're a very blessed person if you count yourself among those who have even one of those adult friends.
I think you forgot to add making beef jerky to that list of things.
But
Hunt,
it
play
goes
ball,
without
lift
saying.
weights. Yeah, and then make beef jerky together.
We're men, all right? These are the things we do. We make our own jerky. We have literally never done any one of those.
We've literally never done any of those things. Yeah, no, that's very true, like you're saying. I mean, again, it's one of those things where you have to find a way to have fun with what you can too. And that can be difficult at times, and it can be sort of mischievous because that's part of the thing with me is I still want to have fun. I do. And people can call that youthful or time wasting, whatever you want to call it. I still like to play little pranks or to do things or to be goofy in that. I draw a lot of fun from that. We joked about like fart jokes last time, which turns out like nobody actually knows any fart jokes. It's just people literally just ripping ass. But yeah, I still do things like that. Play pranks on my wife or the kids or whatever, and it's just a blast. And some people, I guess I guess they frown on that, which is crazy to me. But to each their own, I guess, as they say. I just can't imagine a world where everything is just serious and as depressing as some parts of this show have been at times, right?
To each their own is a gender inclusive language, because
Oh, is that what I said? I meant to say to each his own.
there you go. That's better. Yeah, no, they were saying that even when we were growing up, to each their own, before anyone even knew what a tranny was, right?
Was that okay? Hold on though. Was that even that was just it was not done to be inclusive though, right? I mean, that was just how they were speaking.
Well, I know you're an exclusive kind of guy. That's why I like it. But yeah, that was straight up just bad grade.
No, I don't understand because you're like definitely a teacher at heart. You want to sit and grade papers while we're doing this. So Very strange. Super educated. A lot of times you say things, Tim. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know what they mean, and so I'm just gonna take it as you being offensive towards me from now on, as aggression and being offensive. So
That's how most people take me. So you're in good
What-
company.
do you get that a lot where people would say that you're like an abrasive type individual? Because I think I kind of mentioned that last time. That's how I'm best described by people who I know is abrasive, I guess.
Yeah, I tend to get the abrasive label among people that have seen certain interviews I've done or whatever, see me in public, maybe hear me give a talk. I gave a talk with Archbishop Sample in Portland that was people were psyched up about it or they hated it. They're like, that's the most offensive thing that ever happened in a church. And it happened to
So
us and there was nothing we could do about it. But like then they talk to me one-on-one and they tend to see I genuinely like the humans one-on-one.
there's not like, I mean, you're not the kind of guy who's done something offensive to like lose their job or something of that nature, you'd say.
No.
Not that you know of.
Why would you even
Listen.
bring that up? Everyone knows I am not that kind of man.
Listen, so I'll tell you this. So you're talking about friends and things. So we had a friend come by and visit actually when my son received first communion, and his godfather came into town. Fantastic guy. He's actually in the ordinariate right now. He's in formation to be a priest, and we were all sitting around talking, and I made some joke that would definitely make the pearl clutchers get upset. And I can't tell you exactly what the joke was. I just don't remember a lot of times. Must not have been that good, right? But I remember my wife looked over and he was laughing and she almost breathed a sigh of relief and she said, "I'm so glad it's you that's here because you actually are laughing at that where most times people don't know us that well and they would honestly just feel really awkward and uncomfortable because they don't know my sense of humor, right?" And so that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It's hard to put a finger on it, but I don't see it as abrasive. I just think it's a different type of guy, honestly. And I think
Yeah, well that's honestly my least favorite thing about making new friends is I just when I make these adult polite friendships, even when it's with a dude, especially when it's with a dude that I like, I think we can get past this politeness, which I hate. It's phony. I want to just get to the point where we can call each other names jokingly, like mean names jokingly, but we know there's mutual goodwill there because that's what dudes
yeah,
want to do. You go to some of these dinner parties,
that is awful.
company, it's like,
Awful.
they insist on small talk, and I loathe with all my heart. I like people generally, but I loathe with my whole heart two things:
Generally.
small talk,
Generally.
formality, small talk, and then details. And it's like
Right.
I just these are the two things I don't like, and this tends to be what people talk about: the details of their job, and then boring formalities like the weather. And you think this is a joke when you're a kid, but it's actually true. Adults do this. So someone just needs to come in, tell an offensive joke, get things roiling, and
Yeah.
I mean, because we're called again. That's why we're I guess we're going with in not of. We are called directly by Jesus. He tells us directly how to live. It's not that generic. I guess this is a closing thought, and then I'll let you have take us out with a parting shot. But like, we are directly instructed by Jesus: be in the world, but not of the world. So literally, we're not supposed to just be these pearl clutchers that go to mass, come away from mass, talk about the mass, plan for the next mass, start setting out your bow tie and your suit and your outfit for the next day's mass or the next week's mass. And that's not real life. We're flesh and blood.
The bow tie. It's so big down south. It's so big down south. I know Tucker Carlson got bullied out of wearing a bow tie, but there's a lot of people down south that still do it.
Yeah, it is. Again, that's
You're 100% right though. You can't yeah, you can't just like you said it. Obviously, it's a big part of who we are, right? It's literally like what we're called to be as saints. But you're right. I mean, every dinner or meeting is, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm an attorney, or the other thing too is it seems like there's not a broad variety of what Catholics can do because we're trying to make it on one income. Maybe that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother time. But that's the other thing, right? There's only certain jobs that can support families, it seems like. So there's that. It's just there's not a wide variety of what people could do. and it just gets, I don't even know. There's a JD Vance is this up and coming celebrity type guy now, I guess, and he wrote a book. I wish I knew what it was called. It's really famous. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tim?
I
Have you
know
heard of this
Jay
guy?
Vance. I don't know the book.
Yeah, he wrote a book, and it's about how he came from like the backwoods basically, and he was going to all these, he went to like Ivy League school, and he's an attorney or whatever it is, and he's sitting at a dinner, and that's kind of like what it is. He's just this backwoods kid, and they're really polite, and there's all these forks. He doesn't know what to do, and that's literally how I feel most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for that one person that I can make a comment about a movie or a show or a song or something, and they know what it is, and I'm just gonna like lock onto that person, and that's like, okay, this will be my wingman going through this dinner.
Right.
Of course, of course I have my wife as well, but like she's gonna also be pulled to like the women's group, and then she has to figure it out. So it's
Right.
very true. And there's secret handshakes that you find. I remember one time I was at a dinner party, and there was one of the priests there was like, hey, have you seen these paintings? And I was like, no. And he was like taking me around the house showing me paintings, which I mean, I have nothing against paintings. Okay. I'm not some weird like anti-painting guy. Like you've got some nice paintings in your house as well. But he pulls me around the corner and he's like, hey, he's like, do you have any chew on you? Because at the time I was actually chewing still. And he just wanted to chew, you know what I mean? And so he snuck one, and then he was like, all right, cool. And that was it. And like, I knew that I could kind of go to him for refuge throughout the night if we needed to, if I needed somebody to talk to. So it's just those type of things, right?
Yeah, he just should have said it out and about. That's
wish
the
he
only
would have.
that's cool. He should have been like, yo, this is sort of boring. Do you have any chew? Like what?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because no, it's not like the movie rendition would be. I'll close with this. The movie rendition would be, you're stuck at a stuffy dinner, and you don't know which forks are what, and you don't know what to do. But there's one other like fun-loving person there. But that's not it. Like I understand well enough what everyone's expectations are. The kind of WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant expectation for becoming an adult is you get a career and you get 1.7 kids. It's not really the Catholic conception, but you get an adult, you get a family, and then you lose any bit of fun or frivolity or like impromptu recreative spirit that you might have ever had. And then you go to dinner parties. I don't know why. I don't know what the purpose is at that point, but it's not to have fun. And you talk about your boring job, and you talk and you say polite things that no one fully believes. And I'm like, I know how to do this. It's not very artful. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I want to say, when I go to those things, you can ask Steph, she's right here. I try, and I'm not even talking about with outrageous things. I just like to say like things that'll get people either laughing or real conversation started. Like where everyone will go. What will happen at a lot of these parties is people will start down a path and they'll be like, I do this. And then people are so polite, so cannily polite that everyone's like, yeah. And then they're kind of building to a point, and it wasn't that good a point to begin with. Everyone contributes to the point a little bit. Yeah. And then I'm like, we're like 100 yards down this path. And I'm going to, instead of going 20 yards further down this path, I'm just going to be like, nah, I don't really like that. And I don't
need to bail.
I don't like that. Like, but it's fine that you do. How about this? Like, here's this competing conception. And people usually like it. Then people are like, oh, okay. Like for this barbecue we had, which actually had some fans of the show, at Rules for Retrogrades show up, some of my online students last weekend, everyone was feeling a little bit uptight until we'd rented like an adult water slide, which was really fun. And it was just out there at first and no one was using it.
That was skins then. That's not shirts.
That's skins for sure.
The adult water slide with skins.
Unless you're like the tubby kid that is all
the fat guy with the shirt on.
But like literally I was like, okay, we talked on the patio for a while. Everyone got to chat with everyone, which was actually good. But then we actually started playing basketball. Me and a couple of the guys, and after basketball, then we were all hot, so we went on the adult water slide, and everyone's spirit just like broke loose. Like
that's
Jesus
subjective.
Instructs us to be like the little children, and little kids like having a good time. And I think our Lord was that way. That's why I love that scene in the Passion of the Christ, where Jesus is just goofing off, playing jokes with his mom. He splashes some water on the Virgin Mary, and she's calling him for lunch and he's washing his hands. Like that's what it is to be flesh and blood. And it's Aristotle and Thomas use it as one of the proper accidents.
Someone
3 types of accidents.
somewhere was just furious at that scene. You know it. Just so upset. It just ruined their week when they saw that scene. I guarantee it.
Right. That our Lord.
Somebody is, someone just furious somewhere. You know, I cannot believe that they put that in a film. And that's not the kind of person I am at all.
No, I'm a Roman Catholic. No, that's what we're trying to do here, man, and that's what we're gonna keep doing. So today we talked about adult friendships. It was kind of a keystone that connected that inaugural talk we did here on In Not Of. But I hope everyone's enjoyed this, and we'll come to you about not you, boss, but you, the listener, about twice a month, maybe 3 times a month, some months in the summer. The dog dangling days.
What? Oh, I have to say, there's a thing called a Freudian slip. How's that? How's the slip and slide? It was all skins, bro. It was all skins.
The dog dangling days of summer.
Dog days of summer. Oh, I can't breathe.
The dog dangling days of summer.
I really wish I would have been at that barbecue though. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, well, now you say that.
That was the joke. That was the joke.
You know what? I'm just gonna cut it there because there's literally no way to top that. I hope everyone's enjoyed the second podcast here with Boss. Thanks for being here, Boss, in the dog dangling days of summer. And I had a similar Freudian slip about a week ago where I was saying during Pride Week, I was saying, "Oh, you're hanging your flag."
Those dong flags. Those dong flags.
That was strangely apropos of Pride Week. Would be that sort of flag. But anyway, we've already said too much, and both of us have our families to tend to. They're sitting around the dinner tables with their mouths agape, waiting for us to drop food into them. Anyway, thanks, boss, and we will see you next time.
All right, good to hear from you, bro.
God bless you in the dog dangling days of summer. Peace, everyone. Day as well.